What's up, everybody? Tony Gracia and Ian is here to help show a little bit of some closed guard technique for today. January is going to be closed guard month for us here in our fundamentals program, and I want to share some concepts of closed guard with you, and then one of our favorite techniques from there. So if I find myself closed guard bottom, and this can be by my choice, or maybe he took me down and I'm here. Here's basically what closed guard looks like, because of course I'm on my back, I've got my leg crossed around him. I'm trying to think of doing three things primarily from here. And if I can get one of these three things, it helps. If I get all of these three things, especially all at once, I'm going to be in a really, really good position. So thing number one is trying to break down his posture. When he's very upright like this, he sort of is winning the position. If I can break his posture down and get him down lower, now is where I'm going to have a better advantage and I can start my attacks a lot. So number one is trying to break down his posture. Number two is his arms can be pretty good defensively, especially in the gi. He's got these grips and it can be difficult for me to maneuver them. But I put his arms in more vulnerable positions in one of two ways. If I can get his hands to go onto the mat, that's going to be more vulnerable for him. Or we'll spin 90 degrees. If I can take either of his arms and make it start to go across his midline, that's going to help me a lot. Our arms are very weak when they go across our midline, and so if I can isolate his hand on the mat, or if I can go across his midline, that's going to help me a lot. And then the third thing that I want to try to do is get an angle. And there's one of two ways I can get an angle on him. The match usually starts, or the position usually starts, where I'm looking right at his forehead. So we're very straight on and there's no angle had. What I want to try to do is get an angle where I'm looking more into his ear instead of right at his forehead. I can get an angle one of two ways. I can stay flat on my back and I can move over this way where I'm still flat on my back, but I'm looking at his ear. We call this like a pendulum action to get over here. I can also do it where instead of staying flat on my back, maybe his posture is broken down slightly, I'm going to move so that one of my butt cheeks is up in the air like this. Okay? This is usually a little bit easier for people to learn, but you can still see that I'm looking right into his ear canal. Okay? So those are our big three things. I want to break down his posture. I want to either get his hand on the mat or across his body. And then number three is I want to get an angle, either with a pendulum or with the second style, which is like a hip escape. And if I can get all three of these things all together, I'm going to be in really good shape to start my attacks from the closed guard. And so let's go ahead and look at one. It'll probably be the best for you to see if my head is at the camera, so I'll try to talk loudly so the mic picks it up here. So Ian's up and he's tall. I'm going to start by trying to break down his posture. And this can be a bit of a battle. It's not always the easiest thing, but it's not going to work for me if I don't break his posture down. So let's say I've got his posture down at least for a moment. What I'm going to try to do now is a combination of getting a little bit of this angle while also getting his arm to go across his body. Okay? If we have the gi, then using gi grips to do this is really helpful. I like to make a nice grip like this on his gi. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my hips to the sky and I'm going to pull his arm over here like this. So it's going all the way across his body. Once it's across, I'm going to drop him down so his elbow's on the opposite side of my body and make a nice grip on his back so it's harder for him to get up. Okay? And then the third thing is scoot out to the side like this. So now I have all three things. I've got his posture very broken down. I have his arm way across his body. And I've got this nice side angle where I'm looking into his ear. This one is an extreme where my head is now higher than his head. So his posture is really, really broken down a lot. Really good for me. One of the things that will often happen from here, we're going to scoot back just a little bit. One of the things that often happens from here is he has one free arm that I don't have any control over. And he'll probably try to use that free arm to start building his posture back up a little bit. When he starts to do that, because he's kind of like down like this, when he starts to build back up, there's a little space in this area now, and I'm going to try to stuff his arm like into his armpit. His arm probably used to be on this side of his hand, and I'm going to try to move it to the other side of his hand as best as I can. A sideways angle will work the best to show you this one. So I've got my grip, stuff gets over. Yeah, he'll probably try to do that because it keeps him up a little bit higher. But what this lets me do is as I come through here, I can feed his arm to my other hand. You see how I have it with my other hand now? So this is going to be a really strong position. It's almost impossible for him to get this arm back at this point. So now all I need to think about doing is keeping my back glued against him. I'm going to take this foot and I'm going to start putting it between his legs, which is going to give me a little bit more mobility, and it's going to let me get up a little bit higher. And then I'm going to just scoot away, and he's going to he's going to fall and land in my lap, and I've got my hooks in, and I can start attacking my choke from right there. Okay? We'll show this from a couple more angles. So we'll come in right about here. Okay? So I'm going to make my grip. I pop his arm up so it's not touching me, and I'm going to push this over, and I break his posture at the same time by pulling with my legs. He'll usually catch himself just like he did, and I'm going to try to keep this pushed strong into this area. I scoot my hips out, and I work on making this transition. Once I have this transition, it's such a strong position for me. Right now I'm propped up on my own elbow. It can be an even stronger position if I go to my straight arm instead of staying on my elbow. Turn to your left a little bit. Perfect, right here. So you can see I'm on my straight arm. This gives me the most mobility. If I was down here, it still is okay, but I want my head higher than his head, and I want to be as mobile as I can. Now I'm going to take my right foot, this one over here, and I'm going to put that between his legs instead of around. And this is going to still give me a nice control, and I'm making sure my chest is on his back really strong. I'm going to pull his wrist like this. If I can get that wrist back, I'm going to pull it up as I scoot away, and he's going to fall right into my lap. I can start going for my chokes, putting my other hook in there. So if you're new to jiu-jitsu, if you're new to closed guard, I hope you find that helpful. Again, our big three things are let's break his posture down, isolate his arm, either put his hand to the mat, or in this example, get it across his body. And then number three, we want to get a nice angle to the side where I look at his ear instead of at his forehead. And if I can do all three of those things at the same time, I have a lot of good techniques available to me. So try it out, let us know how it goes.